first want to look at when you have a product idea before you start to build that thing out is it viable? Does it have potential to make an impact in the market? And once you realize that it has potential to make an impact in the market, then you want to figure, all right, so it can make an impact, but how are we going to continue to grow this? How are we going to be able to scale this? So our next workshop is going to be about viability and scalability. And the speaker is perfect for that. Our next guest is a carpenter of products and people, currently a senior technical product manager at Google and the co-founder of Techsgiving. This Nigerian American uses his technical skills and philanthropic passion to craft innovative products and build pathways for aspiring individuals to fit into tech. Let's please show some love for Ayo.
What's going on?
What's good, man?
Season 4.
Yes, indeed. Season 4. I'm gonna let you take over, champ.
How you feeling?
I'm good, man. Happy to be here. Happy to be in season 4. I'm ready for this marathon that is the Techsgiving Summit and to meet people in person, man. How you feel?
I'm feeling good. This is 4 years we've been doing this, like you mentioned before. Every year, it just gets bigger and bigger. I'm excited to welcome a lot of people in the DC, DMV specifically. And I'm excited to drop some gems on product management as well as just, building and scaling a product as well, too.
Most definitely. Well, I'm gonna let you take over, King, and y'all see more of me a little later.
All right. What's going on, everybody? I'm about to get started. But for those who don't know me, I'm Ayo, one of the co-founders of Techsgiving. I'm excited to be here. But we're going to talk a little bit about product viability to scalability. So let me present my screen and let me know if y'all seeing it. All right. Cool. I'm hoping everybody's seeing my screen. If not, Kofi, let me know in the chat otherwise, but I'm getting ready to rock out. So today we're going to talk about product viability to scalability, right? So first things first, who am I? So I'm Ayo once again. I'm a first generation Nigerian American. So shout out to all the Nigerians there as well too. I'm from the DC metropolitan area, specifically Hyattsville. So shout out everybody from PG County. I'm an avid traveler. I've traveled to so many countries at this point, I can't even count. I love it. I'm excited to take a vacation after this summit and head actually back to West Africa as well too. I'm a 2-time marathoner, so I love to jog. I'm sure some people who know me or don't even know me probably just caught me running on the street. If you ever see somebody, tall with locks running, it's probably me. So if you question it, yes, that is me. I do be jogging everywhere I go. But my professional background, I'm a senior technical PM at Google. I'm also an adjunct professor at Temple University. Shout out to Temple University Owls. I teach product management there as well too. As mentioned before, I'm the co-founder of Techsgiving. So in short, I keep pretty busy between wearing a lot of hats. I'm also an ex-product manager working at Meta as well as Microsoft as well too. So first things first, what is a product MVP? So a product MVP is a minimal viable product and is a product with enough features to attract early adopter customers to validate a product idea early in the product development lifecycle, right? So when you think about an MVP, you're thinking about something that is super short, super small, but enough to provide enough insights as a product manager or as a founder or as somebody who's building a product. That way you can learn to get some insights on what you're doing right and how to build it at scale as well too. So as mentioned below, it's a version of a product that allows a team to collect the maximum amount of validated learning about customers with the least amount of effort as well there too, right? So the goal with an MVP, less is more, right? So less is really more. So you want to make sure that you're getting out a product fast and getting feedback fast, so that way you can be agile and get more and more insights there as well too. Next, you want to release a product to the market as quickly as possible, right? So with the MVP, the goal is speed. So you want to actually have a product out as soon as possible. I know a lot of people think perfect when they're building an MVP, but that is not the game here. You actually want to get a product out as quickly as possible. Sorry. Just putting some in chat. But next, You want to test an idea with real users before committing a large budget to the product's full development as well there too, right? So again, the focus here is making sure that people are getting insights, that you're getting insights, but you're not putting on, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, billions of dollars as well there too, just to learn that a product might actually not have a market fit as well there too. And lastly, you're going to learn what resonates with the company's target market and what doesn't as well too. So sorry guys, 1 second. All right, so next. So let's go through some product MVP examples. First, you're going to think about Amazon. So Amazon is an online bookstore. Originally was an online bookstore that only sold top selling books. So think about your top selling books only on Amazon. Think about all the other things that you use Amazon for now as well too, right? Amazon was solely just used for books originally, right? And all it originally had was the book title and the price. So when you think about all the different things that you can filter on, Amazon was used for, it was used for so much more, so much less specifically in terms of rigid things as well there too. Next, you're going to go through Instagram, right? So we think about Instagram, think about what it originally was used for, which was a photo sharing platform that only had a following and filters as well there too. I don't know if you guys remember the old days. I don't know if you guys remember the old days when people couldn't even DM and had to comment on people. And if they were shooting a shot, that was the way they had to get their point across as well there too. So with that being said, that was what Instagram was about back in those days as well too. After that, you have Airbnb. So Airbnb was actually just used for tech conferences, just in SF as well there too. It was only a website. All it had was photos, and you were actually able to get breakfast as well there too. So, thinking about some things that have changed, but also it just has some super core features as well there too. So with that being said, those are some examples of MVPs as well too. Sorry guys, having a little bit of technical difficulties. But continuing on, here is the product MVP process as well too. So first, you want to define your problem. So when you think about your MVP and your product, you want to think about what the actual problem that you're solving is as well too. Sorry, y'all, trying to make sure that this laptop don't die on me. So you're gonna see some people in the background. Shifting over. Bear with me. And we are good. So now I can do this with a little bit more comfort. Apologies there. So product MVP, right? So first you want to define your problem. So think about the problem that you're actually solving as well there. Next, you want to analyze the market needs as well too. So when you're building something, think about the market needs, right? Who are the other players in the market? What are the customers' pain points? What is the size of the market as well there too? In terms of, is this a growing market? Is this something that's flat? Is it a million people market? Is it a billion person market? Is it something that could be as big as an Amazon, so on and so forth as well there too? Then after that, you're going to state your assumptions, right? So think about what you're assuming about the market and then state your solution with that as well there too. Then after that, you want to define your user journey, right? So think about all the different ways that a user can currently goes about solving this problem, right? If I have, if I'm trying to get a new skill, what are the ways that I can go about getting a new skill? I can go through a boot camp. I can go to get traditional schooling. I can do self-taught. I can use apps like Career Karma and Black Genius Academy, things of that nature as well there too. So after that, you want to create a pain and gain map, right? So a pain and gain map essentially tells you what are all the pain points that a customer experiences and what are the ways that a customer is going to gain value from the way that you're going to solve it as well there too. So from that, you'll be able to define your features, right? So for those who don't know what a feature is, essentially it is a something, and when you have a product, think about a core function in a product, right? So Instagram, a feature of Instagram is to share photos or to make comments or to like a picture, things of that nature as well there too. So you're going to define your features. Then after that, you want to prioritize your features, right? Because at this point, you're going to have a list of features that you can have out, but you want to prioritize them in terms of what you think the customer value add is going to be, as well as from a business perspective as well there too. A good way to do this as a product manager or as a product owner, as a scrum master, or as a founder, you want to do P0 through P1, P2, so on and so forth as well there, right? So as you're doing this, you're thinking about, hey, I'm building a platform to help people learn technical skills. Okay, well, a core feature that needs to be in place is for them to have options for them to learn as well too, right? Maybe there needs to be a marketplace of sorts feature that they can actually select different boot camps that they want to sign up for, right? I would prioritize that as a P0. And when I say a P0, that means super, super urgent priority as well there too. After you prioritize all of your features, then you want to launch your solution, right? And again, when people hear the word launch, they think of this super grandiose, big thing where you have a launch party and you have a crazy marketing campaign behind it. But when you're talking about an MVP, it has to be super lean. So when I say launch in this respect, I'm talking about putting it out there for the customers to try, to give you feedback. And then lastly, after that, you're going to analyze your results, right? So when a customer gives you feedback, what you want to actually do is actually internalize it, whether it's good or bad. One, what is the sentiments of the customer? How long are they spending on this platform that you've built? What is the organic growth rate of the actual product as well there too? Are people naturally going about using this product as well there? So all of these things you need to do when it comes to the product MVP process. So while I mentioned that it's a short process, it is definitely has a lot of steps to it. So again, you're going to start by defining your problem, analyzing the market needs, stating your assumption, defining your journey, creating a pain and gain map, defining your features, prioritizing your features, launching your solution, and then finally analyzing your results. All right. So again, this focus is about product viability to scalability, right? So let's talk about the differences between an MVP, a viable product, versus a scalable product, right? So when we talk about an MVP, typically you're focusing on a small, very niche customer base, right? It should be easier. I should have changed that to easier because nothing is easy to develop. If anybody who's on the technical team knows that the things that you think are so simple will even give you the most difficult headaches as well there too. So easier to develop than a scalable product. Next, you're going to get in-depth feedback from an early customer base, right? You'll be able to analyze signal. When I say signal, that means very deep trends on what a customer feels or is experiencing using your product. And lastly, you're going to have a short development time as well there too. And again, similar to easy, it's going to be shorter, right? An MVP can take, sometimes weeks to months to build, right? So, and that is not sometimes very short, especially if you're trying to put something out by tomorrow. So from an MVP now, you want to think about what a scalable product is as well there too, right? So with a scalable product, you're going to have a growing customer base. So one, thinking about, a product that has hundreds of thousands of users, millions of users to billions of users, right? How do you build a product? How do you have a market fit for that as well too? Then you have complex and heavy infrastructure that you'll need for a scalable product, right? When you have something that millions and billions of users are using daily, you need to have the infrastructure that's in place to make sure that you are being able to take in all these users, all the the data that's being sent to and fro the actual system as well there too. And then lastly, you're going to have a lot of broad feedback, right? When you were MVP before, you had very in-depth feedback. You're able to get a lot of analysis from your customer base in a short amount of time, whereas you have broad feedback from a broader base, right? And there's going to be a lot of signal and noise. And when I say signal, that is an indication of like, hey, this is a very, very clear indicator that this is a trend that I'm experiencing with my customers or my user base. And then noise is sometimes sporadic feedback or sporadic things that are not very, very in-depth or not very, very seen often as well too, right? It might be one-off things that you're experiencing as well. And with scalable products, you do have lengthier development times, right? And this is all dependent on a ton of things, which include your technical team, as well as the systems that you have in place as well there too. So again, we kind of talked about an MVP, but now shifting the focus to a scalable product is a whole different ballgame. So again, Going back to our original examples, I don't know if y'all peeped the logos change, right? Especially Instagram and Airbnb, they touched up their logos. But in all seriousness, though, right, reflecting back on Amazon, which was again once upon a time just an online bookstore, right? Now thinking about all the applications that it has, right? So you have AWS, you have Prime, you have a full-on marketplace specifically, right? You have way more than just books. The shipping is way more efficient as well there too. There's filter options features where you can figure out things that are maybe that are less than $50 to buy, or things that are going to come within 2 days, so on and so forth. So it's a full-on marketplace that is scaled out now, right? Instagram, right? Think about all the core features that it had once before, which was just photo sharing and commenting. Now you have stories, you have reels, you have DMs, all these different things that Instagram has added as iterations to its core product, right? And then lastly, Airbnb, right? So thinking about now, where once it was just for people in a specific area, specifically being SF and only being for tech conferences, right? You use Airbnb for a lot more situations than that. You have work travel, you have leisure travel. Obviously, conference travel is still there as well too. And then it also provides you with amenities and ratings and things of that nature as well there too. One thing I did notice is that they definitely took away the breakfast no more as well now. So no more breakfast at Airbnb, which sucks, but nonetheless, they have a full many features that they offer now as well there too, right? So the purpose of this slide was essentially just to show that when you're scaling a product, this takes years, right? When you think about Amazon, I showed you before, that was over 20 years ago, right? Instagram that I showed you before, that was maybe 10 to 15 years ago, and Airbnb is about the same amount of time as well there too, right? So this takes time. You have to iterate over time. But what all these companies did was take in user feedback and understand how to scale their products out further. And now many of these companies impact billions of users a day. So you've learned about what a scalable product looks like, and what the differences is between MVP and a scalable product. So what are the steps that you need to take to actually scale a product, right? So after you went through your MVP phase, right, you want to analyze the trends of the user sentiment, right? What are the customers actually saying, and what are the differences between the signal and the noise, right? What are the trends that you're seeing that if you were to solve this one or two or three focuses, this would help scale your product and bring even tenfold of a user base, right? If you have 10,000 users, maybe it goes from 100,000 to a million users after that as well there too. Another thing that you can do is interview early adopters for reasoning for positive sentiments, right? A lot of times when you have good sentiment for a product specifically, you tend to just take that and run with it. And it's like, okay, I have a customer, but you want to understand why they liked it, right? Because the reason why somebody loved your product may not have been the same reason why you thought as a builder or as a product manager that they loved it as well too, right? So you want to understand in depth why people love your product and why they're acting as a marketing tool to tell people that they should use your product as well. Next, you want to refine product for only top features users would pay for, right? That last part is key, right? So what are some pain points that a user is experiencing that they would pay for, right? So not nice to haves, but things that they're experiencing so much, that pain points that they're experiencing so much that they would pay for as well too, right? So you want to refine your product for that. And then next, you want to build scalable infrastructure, right? I won't go too much into depth about
You got what's going on, y'all? I will be right back in just a few moments. For right now, if y'all have any questions about the upcoming days for the Techsgiving Summit, please put it in the chat, and I'll be able to answer the questions to the best of my ability. But we're gonna keep it going. We have a day full of vibes. We have a day full of a lot of great workshops. And once again, I will be right back in just. All right, I will be just right back. Oh, I'm muted. No sound. Can y'all hear me now? So yeah, we had a little bit of technical difficulties, as I said. Oh, perfect. So Thank, thank you. So if you guys have any questions about the Techsgiving Summit, what's going on over the next few days, I'll answer to the best of my ability. And we have a go for I'll be back in just a few moments. What's the vibe going to be for the night? That I guess that's a great question. So the vibe for tonight, man, just come dressed, come dressed, relaxed, but nice. We're gonna be on a rooftop. We're gonna have some great beverages. We're gonna have some music going on. And my sound is going in and out. Oh man. Yeah, the hotel Wi-Fi is trying to hate on us, man. We trying to make some good things happen here. There we go. We're gonna talk more about the party tonight a little bit later. So I'll see you in a bit. The Wi-Fi I don't want to see is when, y'all. But yes, so definitely pull up on us tonight. We're looking forward to seeing y'all in person. We're looking forward to just having some great vibes and just communing. And then tomorrow's going to be all about the workshops. Those that are coming through tomorrow. We're gonna have a day full of workshops. Another great question. Is I'm gonna hit Bay Area songs. Okay, so some are saying I sound clear, and some are saying not. We definitely gonna hear some Bay Area songs. I definitely need to hear some LA West Coast songs. Y'all know, if y'all don't know, I'm a Delaware born, but I'm a West Coast lover, and I've been in the West for a little bit. So we're gonna hear a lot of different songs tonight. We're gonna hear some Afro beats. We're gonna hear some songs from Nigeria. And I'm gonna pass it back over to the Nigerian king himself, Mr. IOD. Like he's ready.
Hold on, Kobe. Just testing. Can y'all hear me well as well too? Kobe, can you hear me?
I hear you good, bro.
Okay, just making sure as well too. So my apologies on that, y'all. I think we had some technical difficulties. Let me know if you're seeing my slide, Kofi.
I see your slide good.
All right, let's rock.
Okay. All right.
All right, let's get back to it. Sorry, you guys. Apologies for that. But just jumping exactly right back to where I left off as well too. So steps to take to scale a product. Again, we talked about analyzing the trends of user sentiment. Then after that, you want to make sure that early adopters have reasoning from early adopters for their positive sentiments as well there too. Why do they love your product so much? Why are they raving about it to other users as well there too? Why are they pretty much being a marketing tool for you to build your user base? Next, after that, you want to refine the product for only top user features that users would pay for. As I was saying before as well, people have a lot of pain points, but it has to be a very, very in-depth pain point to the point where someone would want to pay for the solution that you're giving them as well there too. So refining your product for that is super important. And then you want to build scalable infrastructure, right? That's super important when you have hundreds of thousands, millions of users, potentially billions of users on your system as well there too. What does the database look like? What does the what does the CI/CD look like in that regard as well there too, right? What does the cybersecurity protection look like as well? So all these things are super important when it comes to scaling a product, right? And then after that, you want to develop a marketing strategy rollout, right? So before we talked about when you have an MVP, you want to make sure that essentially you just get the product out, right? But when you have something that you're building at scale, you want to make sure that the masses know about it, right? So marketing is super important. And you're going to learn about some marketing strategies in a few other sessions as well there too. And then lastly, you're going to rinse and repeat, right? I know Femi talked about this before as well too, right? You're going to continue to iterate. This is not always going to mean that your product is going to continue to scale by following these steps. But once you analyze and you rinse and repeat, ultimately you're going to be able to go to 0 to 100 after this eventually as well there too. All right. So scaling a product doesn't always mean that you've done it the right way. So here are a few indicators that you have scalability gone wrong. One, when you're growing multiple features at once and you're not seeing a user growth rate that is actually growing at that same time, right? Sometimes as a product manager, you're putting in all this effort and trying to scale a product, or as a founder trying to scale this product, but it's just not sticking. And people are, not using the product, not engaging with the product, not spending money on the product. And ultimately that's a signal that you're not properly scaling, right? The next thing is that when you have features that are growing at a faster user rate, growing at a faster rate than the user base as well too, right? So when you're putting out all these things, but the user base isn't growing, that's usually an indication that your product is not scaling properly. We talked about this before, but you don't have the infrastructure in place to take on new users, right? Once you start to hit that 100,000 users or a million users or going on to a billion users, what infrastructure do you have in place to make sure that you can sustain that scale as well there too, right? Everybody wants to have this big grandiose product, but if you don't have the infrastructure, um, your product is not going to be the best functioning product, essentially as well too. And then lastly, there's many product features that have unresolved defects as well, right? So for people who do backlog grooming, or maybe scrum masters or product managers, so on and so forth as well too, you might see in the backlog that there's many unresolved defects. So with that being said, if you're not properly getting to these defects and they just continue to clog the backlog, that's usually indication that you're probably not scaling right? You want to make sure that you're resolving defects as well in the most efficient manner as possible. So how do you know that you're getting scalability correct? One, your user growth is creating demand for new features and new infrastructure as well too, right? So you should be growing in parallel with the features that you're building as well there too, right? You shouldn't just be throwing features at a wall and hoping that something sticks and hoping that you start growing from there. Next, your business is hitting its key performance indicators and growing its revenue and user base consistently as well too, right? You should consistently be seeing growth as well there too, right? There's always going to be down quarters or things of that nature as well there too, but overall you should be seeing growth. Next, you want to make sure that you're seeing more organic growth and less sales and marketing focused growth as well too. Sales and marketing is always going to be important when growing a business, right? But if you're seeing that everything has to be paid for you to continue to grow, that's usually indication that the organic growth needs some love there as well too, and that people are not organically using the product, right? And then lastly, your defects and your backlog are getting resolved within a timely manner as well too, right? So if you haven't heard of an SLA, it's a service level agreement, usually with your engineering team, that you say, hey, when we have something that hits the backlog, we're going to resolve it within, 1 day, 2 days, 5 days, 10 days, so on and so forth as well there too, right? You shouldn't have a cluttered backlog all the time, especially with bugs that are super, super high priority as well there too. So why is scaling properly important? Well, one, from a business owner or a product manager or anybody who's a part of a product team standpoint, is going to increase increase the revenue of the business, right? When the product continues to grow, the business starts to flourish, and overall, everybody's a happy camper that way as well too. Next, brand reputation and awareness is increased as well there too, right? The bigger the product is, the more brand reputation and awareness that it comes with as well there too. And then after that, you have increased talent opportunities as well there too, right? Everybody wants to work for the company that's growing, that looks like it's going to be the next big thing or the next big product as well there too, right? So you have better opportunities to capture quality talent that way. And then lastly, you have increased efficiency, right? So when you're scaling the right way, your team should really, really be a well-oiled machine, from the PM to the software engineers to data scientists, so on and so forth as well there too. If you're doing it the right way, there should be a lot of efficiency, a lot of processes put into place, so that way when you scale, you ultimately don't crash and burn as well there too. So getting to the conclusion as well. So first, an MVP is for early products to provide validation for a problem, right? So when you have an MVP, you're focused on just validating that you actually have an issue that users would want to pay for, right? Next, an MVP should have short solutions, right? If you're spending multiple months on an MVP, 3+, I would say, and I know some other people would say otherwise, you're probably not building an MVP, right? Which is probably meaning that you have skipped a step. Once you start going from 0 to 50 instead of going from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, you're probably skipping some steps there. So scalable products are for growing user bases, right? So once you have the MVP, and you understand exactly that what your user wants, this is when you start to think about, okay, how do we take this further? How do we scale this out? I now know what my user wants, and I know how to give it to them at scale, essentially. Next, scalable products focus on longer rollouts and increase resources, right? With the scalable product, you want to make sure that you are getting things right? Because, when you have a product that's out there for millions or billions of users, it will be easy to find defects, right? Not saying that people will not find defects, but you want to have protocols, QA, testing, automated testing in place to make sure that you catch these things before they hit the market. And then you're also going to you're going to need increased resources, right? You're going to need a bigger team. You're going to need bigger, proper systems that are going to be in place to make sure that you have a properly functioning, scalable product as well, too. But scaling can be done incorrectly. So make sure you know when to scale and you know how to scale as well there too, right? We talked about some of the indicators that you're not scaling in the right way. So again, making sure that you know the timing of scaling is super important as well there too, right? But when you do it right, you will see key performance indicators consistently met. The key is consistently met. Just because you have one good quarter doesn't mean that you've scaled properly, right? You want to make sure that you're having good years, good 5-year runs, so on and so forth as well there too, right? So as a product manager, as a founder, any kind of builder, it's your job to make sure that you're seeing consistently met KPIs as well there too. So that is my conclusion. I can't see any questions or anything like that, but I hope y'all have some because I'm excited to take them as well too. And my apologies for the technical difficulties, but I guess all of us in tech know how that goes as well too. So let's get the questions going. Cole, can you help me out with some questions, man? Cope, you're on mute, FYI.
My guy, you did a great job today. Thank you for your presentation. We do have a couple questions, and I know your time is short, so we're going to jump right into them. So what was your journey to becoming a senior PM at Google?
Man, that's a good question. I did a lot of job hopping. I started off my career. So again, I graduated from Temple way back at this point now in computer science as well too. So I had the traditional kind of college career, but then after that, I started my career in GovTech as well too. So I started my career with Lockheed Martin, and I got into this cool 3-year rotational program with them. So I got to do all these different types of focuses of engineering, which included software engineering, systems engineering, as well as product management as well too. So towards the end of my run there at Lockheed Martin, they were like, yo, there's this thing called Scrum Master. I hadn't heard of it. They were like, you're doing pretty good managing the team, but also doing the technical work. You should think about being a Scrum Master. So I tried that out and I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. And I got my master's in engineering project management. And I was like, okay, I really like this, duality of the technical and the leadership and the management stuff as well there too. From there, this is when the bouncing started beginning. So I worked with Meta. These days are getting jumbled now, but I worked with Meta at Oculus virtual reality. It was pretty cool at the time, man. That was like the precursor to what you're experiencing as Meta. At the time, it was Facebook, and I was working on the VR headsets, and my team actually won the first Emmy for outstanding innovation on product as well too, which was really, really cool. So I bounced around. I was with Meta on that team, and then I bounced over to Microsoft, also working on the Azure team as well there too. And then ended up at Google as well too. So I did a lot of bouncing. One thing that I will say is that I always made sure I kept the resume prepared and made sure that I would just stay ready because with this industry that we have right now, it's very shaky right now. I know there was some major layoffs that just happened yesterday as well too. So I just made sure I always have my resume ready. I use interviews as a way to kind of practice. Sometimes I would interview just to make sure I was sharp to understand my market value as well there too. So that's kind of what catapulted a lot of the bouncing around. So that was a long answer, but I hope that answered it properly.
No, I think you answered that very well. Just a quick question. How often do you update your resume?
Me, every 3 months.
Every 3 months. And how often would you suggest that like those in the chat should update their resume just to stay prepared if they want to move around?
I would say, I would say at least every 6 months. But I think with the way that the industry is, every 3 months, man. Because the way I think about this, I see why you get me started, Coke. You know I can go off, but just let me know. I see some people in the backstage, so I need to kick me off. Just kick me off. But I say this because I think the industry is just very, very shaky right now, and I feel as though there's so many things that when you're, especially if you're on a technical team, you have so many accomplishments that you can add to that resume all the time. This month or this quarter, I did this, right? And if you're not doing that, you need to write that down and make sure that you're actively seeking out projects that you can have something that you can say, I did X by using Y, which led to Z. And when I say that, I mean, I launched a feature by using some sort of tool which led to user growth of 20% or something like that, right? You should be trying to position yourself on projects that you can show impact as well too, right? So the way I think of it is that usually every quarter there should be something that's impactful that you're doing, right? And if you're not doing that, then you should try to seek that out as well too, whether it's taking on 20% roles, maybe doing a role, that might just be in kind as well too. So yeah, hope it answered that question.
No, that definitely answered that question. I just thought that was valuable for the group. Now, somebody's asking, how do you suggest one get a technical program manager experience at an entry level here in DC?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think the best ways that you could go about doing that at an entry level perspective, one, look into like project management apprenticeship roles, getting a project management certification. Shout out to Google certifications as well, so you can actually get those for free. Getting a Google certification as well there too. So look into project management roles, look into technical roles as well too. If you have technical skills, so software engineering, data science, so on and so forth as well. Because as a TPM, a technical program manager, you have to have the T, meaning that you have to have the technical part of it. So you can't duck it. So yes, you need to have those like core project management roles with principles. But you also have to be technical. You have to understand it because you're going to be talking to engineers who are, moving a mile a minute, right? And they don't want to have to, talk. How do I say? They don't want to have to kind of code switch and essentially just to say like, hey, all right, let me bring you up to speed. Like you want to make sure that you're lockstep with your engineers. If anything, you want to make sure that you're ahead of them and leading them as well there too. So in short, I would say entry level roles, any entry level technical roles, so software engineering, data science, system admin, so on and so forth. But if you can mix that in with, maybe a project management apprenticeship or something to that effect, that'll probably get you right.
Perfect. I know we got time for a couple more questions.
You tell me, man. Hey, when you kick me off, I'm out, man. So I can take it.
Mr. President, I know you're a busy man, so I don't want to take too much of your time, but you do have a lot of questions in the chat.
This is the fun part.
This is the great part right here. So we must this question right here, man. So someone asked for a little more insight on the inception and the scaling of Techsgiving.
See, I can't even give you that in 2 minutes. So the insight on the inception and scaling of Techsgiving.
That wasn't the words they said, but yeah, just how did it start and how did it grow?
Oh, okay. I was like, oof, that's a story. But in short, it really, started here in DC. Femi, Fisa, Chuck, I don't know if they're online, but we just came together. We were all working at DC tech professionals. At this time I was with Lockheed Martin. We were like, we just need a community to connect with other people that are in tech, because we don't feel like we have that. Let's just, do a 1-day event called Techsgiving and bring people together, but at the same time, pay it forward to the next generation of technologists. So we came together, and I'm blanking on the name of the happy hour spot. We raised a lot of funds. We ended up donating those laptops to Duval University. And the fun fact, from that Duval, see, once y'all get me started, I can just keep going. Fun fact from that Duval University day of service, one of the students that we donated those laptops to actually ended up landing a job at Google as well too. So it is just full circle. He's actually going to be volunteering at the summit. It's just like super full circle that is something that came about from that first day at Techsgiving, right, where we kind of just made this thing happen, right? And when you talk about the growth, it was really just people kind of telling us, like I said, with product viability to scalability, right? Like we just saw the signal. We just saw the signal of like what people wanted, right? Well, people want to learn how to break into tech, or people want to network and build community, and we just kept giving it to them, right? People wanted ways to for free, for the most part, which is what we do at Techsgiving. All the things that we offer are ways that people can connect with others for free as well too. So we just kind of gave that, and we just started partnering with people who are aligned with us, and that's kind of how the scaling went. It's a longer story, but I think that's the short term, because they're kicking me off like the Sandman right now.
They kick you off like that, like Sandman?
No, I think I got one more. I could take one more.
Yeah, that's one more. But just to give a free plug right here, we do have a day of giving. We started with giving out laptops, and we are going to continue at the end of the summit on Saturday to ask you all to donate your electronics, whether that be like a laptop or a mouse. I'm looking at you to make sure I'm saying and a mouse.
Laptops, mouse, any old hardware. But you can also donate school supplies, right? So 100% of those donations go to the Covenant House in DC, which is essentially a space where at-risk youth in DC can come and convene, and ultimately just lay their head as well too, if need be, as well there too. So we're donating 100% of the supplies, as well as funds towards those at-risk teens in DC as well there too. So if you can't make it December 9th, you can still donate. I think there's a donation ticket where you register, but you can also donate at Techsgiving as well. There, techsgiving.org/donate. And so I'm looking forward to seeing people there, because that's actually a full circle moment of when we first started Techsgiving, essentially.
Exactly. And I thought that was great to mention. And so y'all, we're going to party tonight. We're going to get knowledge tomorrow. We're going to get knowledge today, and we're going to get knowledge Friday. And we just ask that y'all come and pay that forward on Saturday by coming or supporting, if you can't come in person, to that day of giving. So definitely do that. And we'll just get one more question real quick, and then we'll just move on to the next segment. Let's see. Okay. If you already answered that question. With all your experience, what suggestions do you have for a non-tech person pivoting into Agile or the Scrum space?
Well, one, I think that space specifically, the Agile Scrum space, is cool because there's a lot of different ways to get in it. You can get Agile and Scrum certified Scrum Masters, and I don't quote me on this. You're gonna be on my neck, but I believe you can get that within either in days to weeks. Somebody can Google. I'm sure they're gonna be in the comments correcting me, but I know you can get that certification relatively quickly. So I would say the Scrum/Agile certifications is one of the ones that you can get relatively quickly as well there too. Another thing that I always tell people is that, like, I'm big on like, do something in kind, get the experience, and then you can add it on a resume, right? A Scrum Master/Agile role is something that you could support, maybe startups or local nonprofits or small businesses, that you can be their Scrum Master. You can add that to your resume, so that way you can say, hey, I did this with X, Y, and Z. And this, again, like I always say, once you add that to the resume, it's like, hey, I was a Scrum Master for Techsgiving, and we increased our operational efficiency X, Y, and Z, which led to so and so and so. So just have a story that you can tell there as well there too. A lot of people don't want to do the work for free, which to each his own, get your money, and everybody got their own situations. But just my suggestion, that just to have that kind of stuff on the resume is super important. So if you can reach out to people to kind of get, do some work for free to get that experience, I think that's a value add. So the certification, doing some work for free. And then if you are in a tech company and maybe not in a technical role right now, asking if you do a 20% project at that company as well there too. So if you work with a company, you see a Scrum Master and be like, hey, can I do some work? Can I take some work off your plate? Nobody's going to tell you no. So that's another way to get that experience as well too.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, my guy. And yeah, y'all, sometimes you got to work for free, because it's never free. If there's some type of value added, it doesn't always have to be a monetary value. If there's a way that you can, work your regular job and then work your job to get towards your goal, it's never free. But what was free was this game. So I want to thank you for providing that free game out to us, my guy, my brother, Io. And thank you, Femi, and the rest of the Techsgiving team for putting it together. And y'all look forward to seeing Io later tonight, man. But thank you so much. You have a good one. And guys, please clap it up in the chat for Io real quick as we transition. Now, Io gave y'all the knowledge about product viability and scalability. So if you're a founder, that was also great knowledge for you as well. But when you're a founder, you're not working in a company and you're trying to have a viable product and scale that product. What you need is a bag. You need some money. And that is where we're going to go next. We are going to talk about fundraising and the new normal. So for the founders, anyone that is trying to find some fundraising for your product, this is definitely the one for you. And we have the perfect person to dive into that. Our next speaker for this workshop is going to be, is the gardener providing minority-owned businesses with the nutrients they need to succeed. This Jamaican-American Atlanta native uses her gift of gab and strategic aptitude to create strategies that help early-stage companies scale through venture capital and strategic partnerships. Let's please show some love for Jason Good. All right, so she'll be coming up in just a moment here. We're going to talk about fundraising, and me, I'm a founder of my own production company, so I'm definitely excited to hear about how to get to the bag and how to scale through venture capital and strategic partnerships. So we will be here in just a second. Okay. All right, so Jason's going to be coming up in.
Thank you so much for giving us that, bridging the gap between coding and storytelling. I hope those creatives definitely got something from this. As a creative, I definitely learned a lot about tech through seeing that. But what we're going to learn about right now, for those that are looking to get into product, or those that are already in product, or those that are founders, when you have a product, right, a product idea, what you